Hi, I'm Quinn and I'm autistic. Welcome to Autistic. How do you know you're autistic? There's plenty of material out there with lists of traits and symptoms, but I'd like to offer you something different, something more relatable. In the 30-something years since I was diagnosed myself, I've spoken to hundreds of people who found out they were autistic as adults, most of whom have gone on to be formally diagnosed. There are common trends we see in the lives of autistic people, whether diagnosed or not. Every autistic life is unique, but the core differences in our minds that distinguish us from the neurotypical model, that autistic triad of distinction, shape our lives in ways that so often converge, and the best way to learn about them is to hear our stories. So, get yourself a cup of your favourite beverage, sit down comfortably, and let me tell you how my friend Skye learned that she was autistic. Skye was an unremarkable infant. She was well behaved and played quietly, always affectionate but not particularly talkative, and content with her own company. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until she started nursery. She started crying every day, but couldn't say why, and her mum assumed it was separation anxiety. It was on starting school at age 5 that the cracks really started to show. Skye was always happiest when she was writing or drawing on her own, and there were frequent letters sent home about her lack of positive engagement with fellow pupils and her numerous time-outs in the so-called quiet room. Skye's mum was a very social person and took those letters to heart, putting increasing pressure on her to make friends. Skye protested that she already had a friend in a boy called Ben who lived nearby but went to a different school. She didn't need any more than that. Unbeknownst to Skye at the time, her mum then went to Ben's parents with fake concerns that their boy-girl friendship was improper at their age. In her mind, breaking up their friendship would force Skye to seek out other, healthier friendships. However, without Ben to talk to after school, she became even more quiet and withdrawn and started asking for timeouts, leading to even more letters from school. Around 8 years old, Skye discovered a new talent. Her mum had never let up in her quest to make her popular, and Skye tried to follow her advice by acting like the other kids to fit in. She did what was literally asked of her, but when she copied the mannerisms and vocal characteristics of a classmate, the other kids erupted in laughter. Soon, she realised that this laughter made the other kids friendlier towards her. She couldn't call any of them friends, but it made her mum happy that she seemed to be mixing. A year or so later, something happened that changed her perspective on life for many years to come. I talked a little about it in the recent question and answer videos on this channel, which are linked on screen now and in the description. Some of the popular kids who now accepted her as the resident comedian had planned a cruel joke on a new girl in the school who'd moved there from another town. Skye had learned to accurately mimic the girl's accent and was asked to play a part in the prank, which made her feel uncomfortable. Whilst the bullying she'd received herself had been relatively low-key, it had still hurt her deeply, and she couldn't stomach doing the same to someone else. Despite the new girl having been quite unpleasant to her, she didn't want to be part of it. She also didn't trust the staff of the school to intervene either, since they failed to act when she herself had been targeted, so she felt the only way to stop it was to intervene herself. She turned up on time at the agreed spot in the playground, but instead of playing her part, she stood in front of the ringleader and told them she wouldn't participate. What they were going to do was wrong and they should stop. The chief bully tried to push her out of the way, but Skye stood her ground, so a couple of other kids started pushing her too, eventually knocking her to the ground and bloodying her nose. Skye screamed for help at the top of her voice, attracting the attention of a teacher. When asked what was going on, the ringleader told the teacher about the mean joke being planned, but in their version, Skye was the one behind it, and all those who'd been pushing her around were heroes trying to stop her. Skye's protests went unheard. All the other kids involved told the exact same tale as their leader, so the teachers chose to believe them instead. She was suspended from school, which in turn led to trouble at home. Her mum complained of having been humiliated when the teachers had asked about potential trouble at home, and punished Skye herself as well. After the suspension, things at school changed dramatically. Suddenly, she was moved to the front of the classroom, and a teacher kept a watchful eye on her every move. Her place as the class joker had been taken by the new kid, whose favourite target for ridicule was Skye herself. She thought everything might change when she entered secondary school at age 11, but it only got worse. Many of the children she went to primary school with went on to the same secondary school, and a lot of tall tales went with them. The incident from a couple of years ago had changed beyond all recognition. She now had an undeserved reputation as a vicious bully and a weirdo who mocked people behind their backs. The new teachers were overly cautious and frequently warned her that her nonsense wouldn't be tolerated. For the next 5 years, it was all she could do to keep her head down and try to go unnoticed. She would do anything to avoid her mum being called into the school again, because she knew it would lead to further punishments at home. When Skye finished her GCSEs, her mum expected her to go to sixth form and then on to university like most of her peers were planning, but Skye couldn't face it. For weeks she got up every morning and left home with her school bag, but instead of school, she walked to the square in the town centre. It had long been a gathering point for local teens in fringe cultures. The punks and goths of years past had given way to baggy-trousered ravers and indie kids. After she got talking to them and listened to their music, she discovered a passion for Manchester bands of the time, like the Stone Roses, the Charlatans and the Happy Mondays. It took her a little while to realise that she was actually making friends. Most of the new people she was meeting had interesting tales, and many of them could relate to her confusion with the world and its injustices. Then, Skye's mum was contacted by the school again, this time over her non-attendance, and the world turned upside down. There was a massive row, which even Skye's quiet, unassuming father got involved in, with the end result that Skye grabbed a bag of clothes and ran out of the house in tears. The next year or two are a blur for Skye. One of her new friends let her sleep on their sofa, whilst days were spent at the square and weekends at raves, until she met Gary, her first boyfriend. He had a job and a small rented flat which Skye was welcome to stay in, but she couldn't contribute to their expenses without a job of her own. That was okay though, because Gary didn't mind putting her up as long as she pulled her weight around the flat. She cooked and cleaned, entertained his friends and slept in his bed. She knew it wasn't love, but he was sort of kind to her. He gave her a roof and food in her belly, and she was grateful, perhaps too grateful. Over the next couple of years, she began to realise that her relationship with Gary wasn't as normal as she thought. His erratic moods and micromanagement of her life had been so similar to the way her mum had treated her dad, she'd assumed it was how all relationships worked. It was only when she discovered that she wasn't the only woman in Gary's life that she resolved to strike out on her own. She started looking for work in the hope of supporting herself, sneaking out for interviews whilst Gary was at work and hiding the mail for fear of him finding out. Whilst waiting for an interview for a retail job in a department store, she saw a familiar face. Ben, the friend her mother had driven away when she was only 7, worked in the same store in a different department. As soon as they started talking, it felt like they'd never been apart. For a few brief minutes, she felt more human and more seen than she had in years. But the interview didn't go well, and her exhilaration at reconnecting with an old friend dissolved into disappointment at still being trapped with Gary. A few days later, she was offered the job at the department store. Ben was friendly with the manager who interviewed her and had put in a good word for her. There was no way she could start working without Gary noticing, and she was terrified of telling him to his face. So she packed her rucksack in secret, and on the morning of her first day at work, left his flat for the last time. She had no idea where she would stay, but she knew she would find somewhere and was quite prepared to sleep rough if she had to. Ben was waiting for her at the staff door when she arrived at work and straight away asked her about the rucksack. He came to the rescue a second time when he offered her a place to stay while she found somewhere to live. That moment changed her life forever. Ben is gay and had lived through childhood dramas of his own whilst he and Sky had been separated, but his parents had been very supportive of him. They were regular visitors to the flat and took Sky into their own hearts almost as one of their own. They showed her something she'd not known before. They trusted her and believed in her, and that was what she needed to turn her life around. She stayed with Ben for nearly 5 years whilst the retail job turned into a promising career, and when the time came to move on, they both shed an ocean of tears. It was the right time though. Ben had met someone special and they wanted to move in together in his boyfriend's flat. Ben moved in with Colin, while Sky took over the tenancy on Ben's flat. Sky and Colin hit it off immediately, and even after Ben moved in with him, she spent so much time at their place that Ben joked that he wasn't sure if Colin wasn't in love with both of them. Colin was quite open about being diagnosed autistic in his late teens and called Sky his sister from another mister, but nothing about their similarity clicked with her just yet. Eventually, Ben and Colin moved away, which broke Sky's heart. Her 2 closest friends were now a 4-hour train journey away, and life just wasn't the same. She started spending increasing time online and made friends with people who shared her passion for fantasy fiction. She'd spend long hours into the night discussing the intricacies of favourite sword and sorcery epics, just as she'd enjoyed with Colin before he and Ben moved away. About a year after the boys left, Colin asked if Sky would like to go to an upcoming fantasy convention as a birthday gift from him and Ben. Colin knew Sky wouldn't be likely to go on her own, so he suggested booking them all into a hotel and go to the convention together. She had an amazing time and met a number of people she already knew from online. Several of them agreed to stay on an extra day and go to see a new movie together, including Colin. Together in the pub after the film, they discussed its finer points, and there came a point of disagreement over a character's motivation. Sky, Colin and another girl, Celeste, thought that the character's controversial decision was born of noble intent, whilst the others thought it was selfish. One of the group said to Celeste, "You only think that because you're autistic," and laughed. Colin piped up then, "Well, maybe it is, because I'm autistic too. What about you, Sky? Is there something you haven't told us?" That comment hit Sky like a ton of bricks. In that moment, it felt like 2 giant monoliths had slotted into place. Why hadn't she thought of it before? She knew she'd never properly fit in with most people and had been on the receiving end of some very poor treatment over the years, but she'd always thought it was just bad luck. Perhaps there was more to it. When she got home, she looked for information on autism online, but most of it seemed to be about children with learning disabilities or so-called challenging behaviours. Then she sought out autistic people and communities to talk to as well. Over and again, as she listened to their observations and shared experiences, she found plausible explanations for the many traits and torments she'd buried all her life. Her need for order and prompt timekeeping, her hyper-focus on her favourite subjects, her sensitivity to noises others claim not to hear, it all made sense. Then there was her profound need for truth and honesty, her strong sense of right and wrong, and her endless sleepless nights rerunning the events of the previous day. She even met people who could hear the incessant mosquito buzz of electricity that she'd always been told she was imagining. Other people had been through the same as her, and they were all autistic. When she asked her GP to refer her for an autism diagnosis, he told her it was very rare for a girl to be autistic. It's only boys usually. She pointed out that she wasn't a girl, she was a full-grown woman, which only made him dig his heels in further. There was no way anyone autistic could grow to adulthood without being diagnosed, let alone have a career and friends. He instead prescribed her meds for her obvious anxiety and refused to take her request any further, even suggesting that any further requests might prompt an investigation of deeper psychiatric problems. A few months later, she saw a locum doctor about an unrelated matter, and the subject came up again. The locum noticed her previous requests in her notes and asked if she still thought she might be autistic. Yes? Then she could have her referral. 18 months later, Skye had the diagnosis that explained her life and gave her the sense of freedom she'd always been denied. Freedom to be herself instead of resenting herself for not being somebody else's idea of what she should be. She refers to it now as the day she was truly born. Skye's tale is far from unusual. Whenever I talk to other autists who weren't identified until adulthood, there are aspects of Skye's story that they can relate to. Her childhood trauma at school, the lack of comprehension and support from family, and the abusive relationship she fell into with Gary. If anything, her story is actually quite uneventful compared to many. The torment some autistic people have been through is so painful they can't talk to anyone about it, let alone share it as openly as Skye has done. Even Skye prefers to remain anonymous, which is why all the names have been changed in this tale. If any of this story rings bells with you, if you can relate to it personally, there's a possibility you may be autistic too. None of these experiences are unique to autistic people, but there are themes running through Skye's life story that are common to so many of us. If you think Skye's life is all too familiar, perhaps it's time you do what she did. Seek out autistic people online and talk to us. Ask us questions and listen carefully to the answers. Maybe those answers will change the way you see yourself and give you the freedom you've been searching for too. Thank you for watching. The most difficult thing about making content about autism is getting people to notice it, and you can help by subscribing, liking, commenting and sharing on your own social media. The more people see what we do, the better the chances of us making a positive difference. You can help even more directly by becoming a patron on Patreon, or by treating yourself to some exclusive Autistic merch.